All right, guys, so we got to do a bench top video here. We're putting some axles in the Rustler. Took out the stock axles. These got broken, so we're just taking them out. And we're replacing them with some TRAXXAS upgraded axles. The thing we had to do here is the axles we got from a buddy of ours, and the shafts in here, the end shafts, were a little too long on these, and these were for a two-wheel drive Rustler. And so what we did was we went ahead, and you could see that, trying to get a good video there, one is a little bit shorter than the other. So what we did was the two-wheel drive Rustler ones were a little bit too long for the four-wheel drive Rustler. There we go. So we went ahead and we got ourselves some half shafts. 6750 was the number. And I could show you how we just changed that. It's very simple how to do it. All you want to do is just pull this apart. Pull the boot off of here. Set that aside. And just pop this pin out right here. You're going to pop that pin out. Pull it out. Oh. So you pull that pin out. Now there's another pin in here that you got to pull out. And there's your half shaft. You can see this one, the new one, is a little shorter. So we're going to go ahead and install that. So all you do is you take that, and take your stub axle there, and you gotta take that little piece there, throw that back in there, install it in there, and line it up so that the pinhole there, I know it's gonna be a little hard to see there, and you gotta line it up with that hole and that hole, and then take that small pin that we had. Make sure you put a little grease on here. These already have some grease on them. I'll grease it up. And then just get that in there and work it so that it gets in there. And you could get it to where you could put the pin through. Sometimes it's a little tricky. There we go. And then just pop it out. Make it even on both sides. And there you go. So now that's all set. All right, so we got that all set. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put our boot back on here, on that shaft, that new half shaft. I like to hit a little grease, just so we get a little lubrication on the inside there. A little lubrication's always good. Throw that boot over here onto the stub axle there. Just work that boot on there. Okay, now we got that on. Now I'll just hit this with a tiny little bit of grease inside this boot here, on that side there, and then just slide this into here and slide it back together. And now we're all set to install these two new axles on the Rustler VXL 4x4. I can see the front. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw the TRAXXAS upgraded axles into the Rustler now. Oh, we got to pull this pin out of here. A pin that goes into the axle shaft there on the up against the diff. I'm going to pull this guy out. Get that out of there. A little tricky, small parts here sometimes. All right, so then we're going to slide that up over there onto the diff. Sometimes this could be a little tricky to get it in there. You got to spin it around and move it around and got to line this up. Let's try this again. I have to pull this out. Should be lined up right about there. Okay, now we can get this in there. And thread that down. Tighten that right up. Okay, so we got that tight. Alright, and now we could get 2 mils here. And we'll pull the screw back out. Alright, so we'll go ahead and throw this back in. Tighten that up. Really simple to change these axles, drive shafts. That's it. Now what you want to do is make sure you put your washer on the end here. You got your washer. And then you got to throw your pin back in. Okay, this is a little bit, this could get a little tricky sometimes. And just get this lined up here. And then this is just going to snap on here. Just like that. And we could put our tire back on. Just find the right spot here. All right, and that's on. And now we'll just go ahead and tighten the wheel nut up. All right, and that tire's back on. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do a quick axle upgrade. We already got the axles in the front of the car on the Rustler VXL 4x4. And now we're going to do the other side on the rear. We're upgrading these with the TRAXXAS upgrade axles, drive shafts, whatever you want to call them. I always call them axles because to me they're axles. You could call them drive shafts. Just grab you're going to need a small pair of pliers and pull the nut off. Take your tire off. You're going to grab this plastic piece and just work it off because it's got the clip on it. I like to just use a small screwdriver and pop it off on the back here. Just work around it so you don't cause any damage. And you could pop that off. Pull the pin out. All right, so you got to take your washer off here. Pull that pin out. You're going to have a small washer there. Okay. Now, we're going to have to pull this link off here. All right. Just take your 2mm Allen. Pull that off. All right, you could set that aside, set the screw aside. Now you can fold this down. And what you want to do is turn the drive shaft in the back until you can get the Allen in there, and you're going to want to get in here, and you got to get that Allen screw for the nut on the drive shaft there. And this way we could get in there. Just turn that so you get your Allen in there. And you got to pull this screw out that holds the drive shaft onto the differential stub there. And that little pin you're going to pull out. And then you could now you could pull the axle off of the rear there and pull the axle out. Watch the bearings. And there you go. Axle's out. All right, it's pretty simple. Axle's out. Now we're going to install the new axle. I like to put a little WD-40 on here just to keep everything lubed up. Now we'll slide the new axle on. And you got to line the hole up so you can put that pin back in. The threaded pin that's going to hold your axle in. And get that in there. Just make sure it gets in there. Everything's got to line up right. There we go. It's starting to thread in now. Feels a little tight. Something doesn't seem right. I might have it cross-threaded a little bit or something. There we go. We got to turn it to the threaded side. You got two different sides there. You got it there now. Okay, now we could thread this in. Thread that down. Okay, that side's on and in. Make sure that's nice and tight, not over tight. We don't want to strip anything out. All right, so then I just like to spray these bearings down a little bit with a little WD-40. Slide the axle in here. Okay. Flip your link back down. Pop that screw in there. Make sure you got the link the right way. Okay, now we'll just tighten that back down. All right, so you're just going to tighten that link back down. Tighten that up. Remember, not tight, but not over tight, because you don't want to strip anything out. Push the bearings back in for that axle. Now you want to make sure that axle's sticking out. Remember that washer to put back on. Okay, and then throw your pin in. Come on, get in there. All right, and then just turn that. I like to put them horizontal. Okay, and then take that plastic piece, and that pin is going to sit right inside that plastic piece, those grooves right there. And then you're just going to get this on here, work it on until it's lined up, and then you'll just snap it into position. These can be a little tricky sometimes. Sometimes you got to work at it a little bit. You got to center that pin really well. And then it'll pop on. This one's giving me a little trouble here. Let's see here. Yeah, sometimes it's tough. You got to line these things up. It's... Yeah, boy, that one's doesn't want to get in there today. Like I said, sometimes it'll they don't want to go in. Sometimes I got to use pliers and just pop it, help you pop it on there. There we go. Sometimes they're a little tough. All right, so that's on. All right, so the axle's in. TRAXXAS upgraded axle. All right, guys, so remember when you put the pins back in for the axles in the back here where the differential is, those, we got extra ones here, but these come with Loctite on them. I didn't put Loctite on those. You could. There was already some Loctite left on there, and it still looked pretty good to me, so I didn't worry about it. All right, so we got the axle in. We're going to put the tire back on, and then we'll be ready to rip this car around. And like I said, we run 2-cell, 3-cell lipos in this car. Make sure you got some Loctite on the axle here. This axle already has the Loctite on it, so pretty much ready to get put back together. Get this back on, and we'll be ready to rip it up. Slash, bash, and crack. All right, so we got the upgraded axles in the front. These are TRAXXAS upgrade axles. Brandy new, baby, ready to rip it out with some 3S lipo power. We do run 2S and 3S in this car. So that's what we're running in this VXL Rustler. Throw the body back on there so you guys just see this car. Come on, get on there. Almost there. All right. All right. Body's pretty much on there so you can see. We got the GTR shocks on this car also. So, all right. That's it for the bench video on this edition here. And this upgrade for the VXL Rustler. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video. Check us out on YouTube. Making sure you like and subscribe. Have a good one.